All right, we are live. All right, gang. Give me 1 second. All right, we are ready to go with Bhagavad Gita class, and as I will make an announcement at the end of this class, let me put on my camera. As I will make an announcement at the end of this class, I don't think we're going to have the Gita class for 2 days. So, because tomorrow is Janmashtami, and the next day is Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja day. So, tomorrow morning, and I'm going to repeat this at the end, tomorrow morning I will be giving class on Janmashtami at 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. East Coast U.S. time. That is for those of you in New Zealand. That's 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. p.m. Sorry, and for those of you in Australia, it's 8:30. Let's see. Yes, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Okay. When I'm going to be giving the class on Janmashtami tomorrow. And I think that's the only class I'll be giving tomorrow. So, and for the next 2 days, and of course on Prabhupada's Day, we're going to be having all the offerings, and that's going to be around midday U.S. time, U.S. East Coast time. Okay, so let us chant Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Malabha Kirivardhari Gopi Jana Malabha Kirivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajano Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajano Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Malabha Giri Badadhati Gopi Jana Malabha Giri Badadhati Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari. So Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parabhatakacharya, also Tata Sitashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Sabaya Charananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrind Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai, Rem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadha Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lalasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Gaur. All glorious ye assembled devotees, all glorious ye assembled devotees, all glorious ye assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda, Hari 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 Gaur. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharini Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Dejatarni. So, Om Ganat Midanda Shah Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so now we'll start with the Bhagavad Gita. And we are reading from the 11th chapter, of the Bhagavad Gita, and the next text is text 16. So here we go. Just 1 second. Actually, I should turn off the aircon. Okay, so remember this chapter is entitled The Universal Form. And remember that Arjuna is asking to see this universal form in which everything possible is within, because Arjuna wants to show what God is, who God is, and show us the test that if anyone says that they're God, that we should put them to, that they have to show the universal form. But Arjuna himself is not interested in seeing the universal form. He's doing it for our benefit. So aneka bahudara vaktra netram pashami tvam sarvatagnanta rupam anantam namadhyamna purastavadim pashami vishveshvara vishvarupa. Aneka, many, bahu, arms, udara, bellies, vaktra, mouths, netram, eyes, pashami, I see, tvam, you, sarvataka, on all sides, ananta rupam, unlimited form, na anta, tam, no end, na madhyam, no middle, na punaha, nor again, tava, your adim, beginning, pashami, I see, vishva, ishvara, O Lord of the universe, vishva, rupa, in the form of the universe. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanding everywhere without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. And Prabhupada's purport, this is pretty self-explanatory. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is unlimited. Thus, through him, everything could be seen. Text 17. Kiritinam gadinam chakrinam cha Tejorashim sarvato diptimantam Pashami tvam durniriksham samantad Diptanalaka dyutim aprameyam. Kiritinam with helmets, Gatinam with maces, Chakrinam with discs, Cha and Tejorashim, effulgence, Sarvataha on all sides, Dipti mantam, glowing, Pashami, I see, Tvam, you, Dur niriksham, difficult to see, Samantad, everywhere, Dipta, Anala, blazing fire, arc of the sun, Jutim, the sunshine, Aprameyam, immeasurable. Your form is difficult to see because of its glaring effulgence, spreading on all sides like blazing fire, or the immeasurable radiance of the sun. Yet I see this glowing form everywhere, adorned with various crowns, clubs, and discs. That's self-explanatory, and there's no purport by Prabhupada to this text. Next text. Tvam aksharam paramam veditavyam, tvam asya vishvasya param nidanam, Tvam avyaya shashvata dharma gopta Sanatanastvam purusho matome. Tvam, you, Aksharam, the infallible, Paramam, supreme, Veditavyam, to be understood, Tvam, you, Asha, this Vishvasha universe, Param, supreme, Nidanam, basis, Tvam, you, Avyayaha, inexhaustible, Sashvata Dharma, Gopta, maintainer of the eternal religion, Sanatanaha, eternal, Tvam, you, Purushaha, the supreme personality, Mata, me, this is my opinion. You are the supreme primal objective. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible, and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. Okay, and no purport to this text either. Text 19. Anadi madhyantam anantaviryam anantabahum shashi surya netram Pashami tvam dipta hutasya vaktram swatejasha vishwam midam tapantam. Anadi, without beginning, Madhya, middle, Antam, or end, Ananta, unlimited, Viryam, glories, Ananta, unlimited, Bahun, arms, Shashi, the moon, Surya, and sun, Netram, eyes, Pashami, I see, Tvam, you, Dipta, blazing, Utasha, Vaktram, fire coming out of your mouth, Swatejasa, by your radiance, Vishwam, universe, Idam, this, Tapantam, heating. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. So, purport. There's no limit to the extent of the six opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here and in many other places there is repetition, but according to the scriptures, repetition of the glories of Krishna is not a literary weakness. It is said that at a time of bewilderment or wonder or of great ecstasy, statements are repeated over and over. That is not a flaw. Okay, next text. Adyava pritivyoridam anantaram hi vyaptam dvayakena dishascha sarvaha drisvadbhutam rupam mugram tavedam lokatrayam pravyatitam mahatman. Yal, from outer space, apritivyoho, to the earth, idam, this, antaram, between, he certainly, vyaptam, pervaded, tvaya, by you, ekena, alone, dishaha, directions, cha, and, sarvaha, all, drishva, by seeing, adbhutam, wonderful, rupam, form, ugram, terrible, tava, your, idam, this, loka, the planetary systems, trayam, three, pravyatitam, perturbed, maha, atman, O great one. Although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space between. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. So Prabhupada explains, Gyav a Pritivyoho, that means the space between heaven and earth, and Lokatrayam, the three worlds, are significant words in this verse because it appears that not only did Arjuna see this universal form of the Lord, but others and other planetary systems saw it also. Arjuna's seeing of the universal form was not a dream. All whom the Lord endowed with divine vision saw that universal form on the battlefield. All right, so in a previous purport, Prabhupada said that Arjuna was the only one on the battlefield who saw it. So in other words, in the heavenly planets and other planets, they were able to see the universal form, but those on the battlefield were not able to, at least according to Prabhupada's previous purport. Ami hitvam sura sangha vishanti kechit pitap pranjalayo grananti swasjit yukva maharshi seda sangha duvanti tvam stutibe Pushkaladibi, Pushkalabihi. Sorry. Ami, all those, he certainly, Twam, you. Surasangaha, groups of demigods, Vishanti, are entering, Kechit, some of them, Pitaha, out of fear, Pranjalayaha, with folded hands, Grinanti, are offering prayers, Swasti, all peace, Itidas, Uttva, speaking, Maharishi, great sages, Sirasangaha, perfect beings, Stuvanti, are singing hymns, Twam, unto you, Stuti bihi, with prayers, Pushkalad bihi, Vedic hymns. All the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings crying, all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. So this is the higher planetary systems. They're able to see this universal form. The demigods in all the planetary systems feared the terrific manifestation of the universal form and its glaring effulgence and prayed for protection. Next verse. Rudraditya vasavo yecha sadya vishveshvinao marutas choshma pascha gandharva yaksha sura siddhasanga vikshanti tvam vismitaschaiva sarve. Rudra, manifestations of Lord Shiva, Adityaha, the Adityas, Vasavaha, the Vasus, yea, all those, Cha and Sadhyaha, the Sadyas, Vishwe, the Vishvadevas, Ashvanal, the Ashvini Kumaras, Marutaha, the Maruts, Cha and Ushmapaha, the forefathers, Cha and Gandharva, of the Gandharvas, Yaksha, the Yakshas, Asura, the demons, Siddha, and the perfected demigods, Sangaha, the assemblies, Vikshante, are beholding Twam, you, Vismitaha, in wonder, Cha also, Eva, certainly, Sarve, all. All the various manifestations of Lord Shiva, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sajas, the Vishvadevas, the two Ashvis, the Maruts, the forefathers, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Asuras, and the perfected demigods are beholding you in wonder. So again, we can see that on other planets or in higher planets or even sometimes amongst the demons, that is the Asuras, they're able to see this terrific manifestation of the universal form. Text 23. Rupam mahate bahu vaktranetram mahabahu bahu bahurupadam bahudaram bahudam strakaralam drishvaloka pravyatitastataham. Rupam, the form, mahat, very great, te, of you, Bahu, many, Vaktra, faces, Natram, and eyes, Maha, Baho, the mighty armed one, Bahu, many, Bahu, arms, Uru, thighs, Padam, and legs, Bahu, Dharam, many bellies, Bahu, Damstra, many teeth, Karalam, horrible, Trishva, seen, Lokaha, all the planets, Prav, Yatitaha, perturbed, Tata, similarly, Aham, I. O mighty armed one, all the planets with their demigods are disturbed at seeing your great form with its many faces, eyes, arms, thighs, legs, and bellies, and your many terrible teeth. And as they are disturbed, so am I. Text 24. Navasprasham diptam aneka varnam vyatananam dipta vishalanetram Tushvahitvam pravyati tantaratma Pratim navindami shamamja Vishno. Navasprisham, touching the sky, diptam, glowing, aneka, many, varnam, colors, vyata, open, anam, mouths, dipta, glowing, vishala, very great, natram, eyes, drishva, seen, he, certainly, twam, you, pravyatita, perturbed, ananta, within, atma, soul, Dritim, steadiness, na, not, vindami, I have, shamam, mental tranquility, ja, also, Vishnu, O Lord Vishnu. O all-pervading Vishnu, seeing you with your many radiant colors touching the sky, your gaping mouths and your great glowing eyes, my mind is perturbed by fear. I can no longer maintain my steadiness or equilibrium of mind. Text 25. Tamstra karalani chate mukani Drisvaiva kala nalasani bhani, Dishona jane na labe sharma, Prasida devesha jagan nivasa. Damstra, teeth, Karalani, terrible, Cha also, Te, your, Mukhani, faces, Drishva, seeing, Eva, thus, Kala Anala, the fire of death, Sanibhani, as if, Dishaha, the directions, Na, not, Jane, I know, Na, not, Labe, I obtain, Cha, and Sharma, grace, Prasida, be pleased, Deva, Isha, O Lord of all lords, Jagat, Nivasa, of refuge of the worlds, O Lord of lords, refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions, I am bewildered. Arjuna is having the shock of his life. Okay, next two texts. Amitvam datarastrasya putra sarve sahaiva vanibhala sangai Bhishmo dharna sutta putrastata so sahasmadiyarapi yoda mukyai Bhaktrani te tvaramana vishanti damshtra karalani vayanakani Kichid vilagna dashana tareshu sadrishyante churnitar uddamangahai. These cha also twam you Dhritarashtrasha of Dhritarashtra, Putraha the son, Sarve all, Saha with Ava indeed, Avanipala of warrior kings, Sangahai the groups, Bhishmaha, Bhishmadeva, Dronaha, Dronacharya, Sutaputraha, Karna, Tata also, Asal that, Saha with, Asmadiyahai our, Api also, Yoda Mukyahai, chiefs among the warriors, Vaktrani mouths, Te your, Twaramana, rushing, Vishanti, are entering, Damstra, teeth, Karalani, terrible, Vayanakani, very fearful, Kechit, some of them, Rilagnaha, becoming attached, Dashana Antareshu, between the teeth, Sadrishyante are seen, Churnitahai, with smashed Uttama Angahai. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings, and Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and our chief soldiers are also rushing into your fearful mouths, and some I see trapped with heads smashed between your teeth. Whew. Let's see, I'll read the purport first, then I'll talk about this. In a previous verse, the Lord promised to show Arjuna things he would be very interested in seeing. Now Arjuna sees that the leaders of the opposite party, Bhishma, Dronakarna, and all the sons of Dhritarashtra and their soldiers and Arjuna's own soldiers are all being annihilated. This is an indication that after the death of nearly all the persons assembled at Kurukshetra, Arjuna will emerge victorious. It is also mentioned here that Bhishma, who is supposed to be unconquerable, will also be smashed. So also Karna. Not only will the great warriors of the other party like Bhishma be smashed, but some of the great warriors of Arjuna's side. Whoops, sounds like a bullet. Also, so I just want to explain a little bit about, we talked about Dhritarashtra, we talked, no, we didn't talk about Bhishma. Anyway, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we mentioned Bhishma. Bhishma was the grandfather of the whole Kuru dynasty. And he had taken a vow to please his father, Shantanu, that he will support whoever was the king. And unfortunately, he stuck to his vow. I'm saying unfortunately he stuck to his vow because by sticking to his vow, he supported Dhritarashtra, who was blind materially as well as spiritually, along with Dhritarashtra's sons, headed up by Duryodhana. So that was Bhishma. Drona is the spiritual master, or let's say the martial arts spiritual master, martial arts master of the Pandus and the Kurus. And he also fought on the wrong side, although he knew it was the wrong side, because of his attachment to getting paid by the Kurus, and also because of his attachment to his son Ashvatam. Ashvatam was very, very friendly. He was like this, like buddies with Duryodhana. So because of his attachment to Ashvatam, he fought on the wrong side. And Karna was actually the son of Kunti before she got married. And for those of you who don't know about the Mahabharata story, that Kunti Devi was married to Pandu, and before she was married, she had the benediction from Durvasa Muni that she could call for any demigod, but she didn't realize the calling to the demigods meant that she would actually be seducing them and giving them a kid. So she tried out this mantra that she was given by Durvasa Muni, and as a result, she got Karna, and she got very upset because in those days, a lady having a child before they got married was really embarrassing. So she set him afloat, sort of like the Moses story, I guess, a little bit, and on the river. And the little tiny, it wasn't a boat really, it was just like a little float. And the float floated down, and the child was eventually taken care of by a charioteer and his wife. And so everyone thought that Karna was basically a charioteer or Shudra quality, whereas in fact he was Kshatriya quality, and they refused to acknowledge that, although he had all the qualities of a Kshatriya, and practically no one, except for Krishna and a few other people like Vyasadeva, knew the mystery of his birth. And so Karna really had an animosity towards Arjuna. And I'm not going to get into the whole story why he had this animosity towards Arjuna, but he really wanted to fight and prove himself to be a better bowman than Arjuna, and in the end, by Krishna's trick, Arjuna was able to kill him in the battle of Kurukshetra. Of course, all this was predestined by Krishna, as we see here when Krishna reveals the universal form to Arjuna, and one aspect of the universal form is that it's past, present, and future. So if one sees the universal form, one is not just seeing what's happening right now. One is going to see what's going to happen in the future, too, and also what has happened in the past. So Arjuna is looking at this universal form, and he's seeing all these soldiers getting demolished by Krishna. And one aspect of the universal form is called the time factor, which we'll hear about a little later. Purport. In the previous verse, the Lord promised to show Arjuna things he would be very interested in seeing. Yeah, I read that already. So, text 28. Yata nadinam bahavam bhuvega samudram eva bimukha darvanti tatatavami nadaloka vira vishanti vaktran yabijiv valanti. Yata, as Nadinam of the rivers, Bahava, the many, Ambuvegaha, waves of the waters, Samudram, the ocean, Eva, certainly, Abhimukaha, towards Dravanti, glide, Tata, similarly, Tava, your, Ami, all these, Naraloka Viraha, kings of human society, Vishanti, are entering, Vaktrani, the mouths, Abhivijvalanti, and are blazing. As the many waves of the rivers flow into the ocean, so do all these great warriors enter blazing into your mouths. Can you imagine the sight of this? Text 29. Yata pradiptam valanam batanga vishanti nashaya samreda vega tathaiva nashaya vishanti lokas Tavapi Vaktrani Samrita Vehiga. Yata, as Pradiptam, blazing, Jwalanam, a fire, Patangaha, moths, Vishanti, enter, Nashaya, for destruction, Samhrida, with full, Vegaha, speed, Tataiva, similarly, Nashaya, for destruction, Vishanti, are entering, Lokano, people, Tavayor, Api, also, Vaktrani, mouths, Samrita Vegaha, with full speed. I see all people rushing full speed into your mouths as moths dash to destruction in a blazing fire. And as Krishna describes, Krishna is all devouring death. Like sometimes we hear about a big or a very infamous mass murderer, someone who's killed so many people. Well, Krishna in this form has killed everybody and continues to kill everybody. He's the biggest mass murderer. Of course, his murdering by the time factor is meant to teach us a lesson. He doesn't actually murder because the soul is never killed anyway. So, Laliya se grasamana samanta lokan samagram avadanarj valabihi tejo virapurya jagat samagram rashastavogra pratapanti vishno. Laliya yase, you are licking, grasamanaha, devouring, samantat, from all directions, lokan, people, samagran, all, vadannahai, by the mouths, dwalad bihi, blazing, tejo bihi, by effulgence, apurya, covering, jagat, the universe, samagram, all, vastaha, raised, tava, your, ugra, ha, terrible, pratapanti, are scorching, vishno, all pervading Lord. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people from all sides with your flaming mouths, covering all the universe with your effulgence. You are manifest with terrible scorching rays. Text 31. Akyahi meko bhavanugra rupo namo namostute deva bhara prasida vigatamichami bhavantamadhyam nahi prajanami tava pravritim. Akyahi, please explain, may unto me, kahu, bhavan, you, ugra rupaha, fierce form, namaha, astute, obeisances, te unto you, deva vara, a great one amongst the demigods, prasida, be gracious, vigatum, to know, ichami, I wish, bhavantam, you, ajam, the original, not he, certainly, prajanami, do I know, tava, your, pravritim, mission. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. You are the primal Lord. I want to know about you, for I do not know what your mission is. So Arjuna is just really absorbed in this universal form and just basically confused at this point. What is your mission? And now Krishna is speaking, text 32. Sri Bhagavan Vachan, this is what I was speaking about before. Kalosmi lokak shea krit pravrito. Lokan sama hartamiha pravritihi. Rite bitwam na bhavishyanti sarve. Ye vashteta prachani keshu yodaha. Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of God, had said, Kala time, asmi, I am, Loka, of the worlds, Shayakrit, the destroyer, Pravridaha, great, Lokan, all people, Samahartum, in destroying Iha, in this world, Pravitaha, engaged, Rite, without, except for, Api, even, Twam, you, Na, never, Bhavishyanti, will be, Sarve, all, yea, who, Avashtataha, situated, Prati, Ani, Keshu, on the opposite sides, Yodaha, the soldiers. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Time I am, the great destroyer of the worlds, and I've come here to destroy all people. With the exception of you, the Pandavas, all the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. So in other words, time is a manifestation of Krishna. And the let us say, the product of time is destruction. Purport. Although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that the Supreme Truth destroys everything, even the Brahmanas, as stated in the Katha Upanishad 1.2.25. Yasha brahma cha kshatram cha ube bhavata hodanaha mrichu yasho pashe chanam kahita veda yatra saha Eventually, all the Brahmana, Kshatriyas, and everyone else are devoured like a meal by the Supreme. This form of the Supreme Lord is the all-devouring giant, and here Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time. Except for a few Pandavas, everyone who was present on that battlefield would be devoured by him. And of course, even later, the Pandavas left this planet too. But here we're just talking about the time frame that encompasses the Battle of Kurukshetra, or shortly after the Battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought it better not to fight. Then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed, for that was his plan. If Arjuna stopped fighting, they would die in another way. Death could not be checked, even if he did not fight. In fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature. Now, Prabhupada would talk about how our lifespan can be measured in terms of how many breaths we have. And as I mentioned yesterday, I believe, it's like an hourglass that you just turn it around and the sand starts trickling one by one by one by one. And so when someone breathes in and out, that's one breath. And there's a certain limited number of breaths we're given according to our karma. And of course, if you're a devotee, that doesn't apply. Krishna can increase the duration of your life. He can decrease the duration of your life. He can do anything he wants. But as far as someone who's functioning under the law of karma, there is a certain amount of time for him to live. And according to the stars, which actually show someone's karma, he's supposed to kick the bucket at a certain time. That's life. Remember how we told the story about Rahu? Actually, it was Shani, sorry. We told the story about Shani, not Rahu. That was a different story. Shani, of course, is Saturn. And Saturn has a particular period in our life. Each and every one of us has this Sade period, the Saturn period, where everything's supposed to go wrong. So, those of you who've been attending our classes before have heard the story, but we'll tell it again. Once upon a time, the great devotee Hanuman, great devotee of Lord Ram, the monkey warrior, was approached by Saturn, and Saturn said, "It's time for you to have a Saturn period." And Hanuman said, "All right, I accept. Sit on my head." And Saturn, basically, in a metaphorical sense, sat on his head, and Hanuman began to pile boulders and boulders. In other words, service to Lord Ram. So we understand this is a little bit metaphorical. He began to serve Lord Ram and carry heavier and heavier things to serve Lord Ram. And Saturn basically started to get crushed. Metaphorical story. And Saturn came down and complained, "I'm being crushed by your service to Lord Ram. Please let me go." And Hanuman said, "Okay." And so the moral of the story is that one who serves Ram, who serves Krishna, even the Saturn period becomes reduced to a mere fragment of a second, not even a fragment of a second. Or if one has all inauspicious stars in his horoscope, then by chanting and dancing, all the lines on his hands change. The planets become auspicious. What was previously inauspicious just becomes an impetus for him to renounce things and become more Krishna conscious. As we find in the Bhagavatam, that there is no impediment. Savai pumsam parodharma yato bhakti yadhoksajay hoitiki apratiyata yatma supasidite. That this Krishna consciousness has no impediment. There's no cause, material cause. Oh yes, I was able to come to Krishna consciousness because I have very good planets. Very good planets. You know, like people sometimes talk about my planets. You have Sagittarius rising. Wow, Jupiter's there too. Wow. Let me offer my obeisance. No. It has nothing to do with the planets. Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the planets. So anyway, so for someone who is not Krishna conscious, the amount of breaths they have is limited according to the time factor. Now, sometimes Prabhupada would talk about yogis who could control their breathing and breathe very, very little. And they could extend their lives in that way. Prabhupada said sometimes during the Kumbh Mela ceremony, you'd have yogis who had been alive for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And of course, Prabhupada also gave the example of a frog who's like a yogi, because during the winter he goes down into the mud when the river is iced up or the lake is iced up, and he hibernates under the mud like that. So frogs can remain alive for a long time without breathing. And we're not talking about tadpoles that can breathe under the water. We're talking about frogs, because frogs are actually good yogis. But what's the use of a long life if the long life has no Krishna consciousness? The example given in the Bhagavatam is it's like the breathing of a bellows, or like the life of a tree, or like a beast who eats and sleeps and discharges semen. There's no use of such a life. So whatever time we have, we should utilize it for Krishna consciousness, and whatever time we have, if we don't utilize it properly, you cannot get it back for billions and billions of dollars or anything in this world. Anyway, so this is what we have to understand. Time is running on. It's taking things away. We cannot get back a previous day. We should utilize the time properly in Krishna's service. So text 33. Tasmat pam utishta yasho lavatsva jitva shatrum bhukshva rajam samriddham ayayvate nihata purvameva nimitam matram bhavasavya sachin. Tasmat. Therefore, tvam, you, utishta, get up, yasha, fame, lavasva, gain, jitva, conquering, shatrun, enemies, bhukshva, enjoy, rajam, kingdom, samridam, flourishing, maya, by me, eva, certainly, ete, all these, vihataha, killed, purvam, eva, by previous arrangement, nimittamatram, just the cause, bhava, become savya sachin, or savyasachi. Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies, enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Now, very important. We can get the credit for serving Krishna, but we're not the doers. In other words, let's say we are presenting Krishna consciousness to others, and somehow or other, it seems that by our efforts, someone took up Krishna consciousness. So we can say, yes, because of me, took up Krishna consciousness. Well, got news for you. That person would have taken up Krishna consciousness by some other means, but you get the credit for it. In other words, the people who want to be Krishna conscious, not supposed to be, but people who want to be Krishna conscious will become Krishna conscious. Krishna will send someone else to help them become Krishna conscious, but you can get the credit. You can choose to be Krishna's instrument. But you should not think that without me, Krishna would be helpless. I mean, what would he do here without my presence? So purport. Savyasachin refers to one who can shoot arrows very expertly in the field. Thus Arjuna is addressed as an expert warrior capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies. Just become an instrument. Nimitta matram. So anyway, so let me explain how expert Arjuna was. When Arjuna was in school, martial arts school, with his spiritual master Dronacharya, Dronacharya devised a test to see who was a good archer. Okay. And so what he did is he put, let's say, a little imitation bird in a tree, and he told the people, the other students, and all the students, to fire an arrow, or at least aim, at the eye of the bird in the tree. And so, first person picks up the bow and arrow, and he gets ready to fire, and Drona says, "What do you see?" And he says, "Well, I see you, I see the tree, I see the forest, and I see the bird in the tree. And Dronacharya says, put down your bow and arrow, you're not really that qualified. And the same thing, basically the same thing happens with 2 or 3 people. Then Arjuna is called, and Arjuna picks up the bow, and he strings the bow, and he puts his arrow in the bow, pulls it back, and Drona asks him, what do you see? And Arjuna says, I just see the eye of the bird. In other words, he's so focused, he just sees the eye of the bird. And Dronacharya says, fire the arrow goes straight into the eye of this imitation or doll of a bird. And he becomes praised by Dronacharya. Dronacharya says, you are the best archer in the world. Because Arjuna is one point. Remember how we discussed in the second chapter of the Gita? Those who are actually Krishna conscious are one-pointed. In other words, they're focused on their goal. And those who are not making so much advancement in Krishna consciousness, their, let's say, intelligence or their focus is many, many branched. In other words, they can't really focus on one thing, or they're focusing on many things. So this is an important lesson for us. So that's why Arjuna is the most expert warrior, capable of delivering arrows to kill his enemies, because he just focuses on the target, and he always hits it. Just become an instrument. In Nimitta Matram, this word is also very significant. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan and all manifestations are but accidental formations. There are many so-called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that, but there is no question of perhaps and maybe. There is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to God and back to home. As long as they have the domineering mentality which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of the cosmic manifestation are under the superior guidance of God. Thus, the battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of God. Arjuna was refusing to fight, but he was told that he should fight in accordance with the desire of the Supreme Lord. Then he would be happy if one is in full Krishna consciousness and his life is devoted to the Lord's transcendental service. He is perfect. In other words, Arjuna had the opportunity to become the instrument for Krishna's desire. And if Arjuna refused, Krishna's desire would still be fulfilled, except Arjuna would not get the benefit of being the instrument. So that's our choice. We can be the instrument for Krishna's desire. And if we decide not to, it's not that Krishna will get frustrated and not be able to do what he wants to do. Krishna always does what he wants to do. His desire is unstoppable, or the application of his desire is unstoppable. Okay. And we'll do, I think, one more verse. Dronam cha bhishmam cha jatadratham cha karnam tatanyan api yoda virhan ayahatam tvam jahima vyatishta yudhashva jetasi rene sapatnan. Dronam cha, also Dronam, bhishmam cha, also bhishma. Jayadratham cha, also Jayadratha, karnam, karna, tata, also anyan, others, api, certainly. Yodaviran, great warriors, maya, by me, hatan, already killed, tvam, you, jahi, destroy, ma, do not, yatish taha, be disturbed, yudhashva, just fight, jeta asi, you will conquer, rene in the fight, sapatnan, enemies, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and all the other great warriors have already been destroyed by me. Therefore kill them, and do not be disturbed, simply fight, and you will vanquish your enemies in battle. Every plan is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead but he is so kind and merciful to his devotees that he wants to give the credit to his devotees to carry out his plan according to his desire. Life should therefore move in such a way that everyone acts in Krishna consciousness and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the medium of a spiritual master. The plans of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are understood by his mercy, and the plans of the devotee are as good as his plans. One should follow such plans and be victorious in the struggle for existence. As we mentioned many times before, that Krishna is controlled by the devotion of his pure devotees. So when a pure devotee, has a plan and he desires to do something, then Krishna helps the devotee in that plan, the pure devotee in that plan, because the pure devotee is simply trying to please Krishna, and Krishna is simply trying to please the pure devotee. As we quoted this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sadhavavriyam Tvaham Sadhanam Vriyam Sadhanam Janati Naham Tebyo Managapi Sadhanam Mayam Sadhanam Vriyam Tvaham Madanyatena Janati Naham Tebyo Managapi. Krishna says the sadhus, the devotees, are in my heart. Let me reverse that a little. Krishna says, I am in the heart of the sadhus. And then he says, the sadhus are also in my heart. And then Krishna says, because the sadhus, the devotees, pure devotees, do not know anyone else but me as theirs, I do not know anyone else but them as mine. In other words, it's a reciprocal relationship. The pure devotee is always thinking how to please Krishna, and Krishna is always thinking on how to please his pure devotee. So this is love. So if we want to have a loving relationship with Krishna, this should be the goal, where we're always thinking how to please Krishna, and Krishna's always thinking how to please us. It's a beautiful goal. So now we will take questions. Let us unmute everybody. And then I'll make an announcement about Janmashtami after the questions. Okay. Okay. This is fine. Okay, who has
Hare
questions?
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Haribol, Sumuk.
Hare Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay.
Gurudev, when Lord Krishna was born on midnight, like it's in Fiji tomorrow. So in Vrindavan, when in Gokul, when Krishna was born to Yashoda,
Yeah.
so they celebrated the Janmashtami on the Nand Utsav day,
Yes.
not on Janmashtami day. But
That's right.
but we celebrate on the Janmashtami day. We supposed to, don't think we supposed to celebrate on the Anandastha day as well?
We're supposed to celebrate on both days. The actual point is the Utsava, the festival for Janmashtami, or the feast, is actually supposed to be had the next day, but it coincides with Srila Prabhupada's appearance. So we actually have the feast for Prabhupada and Janmashtami on the Nandotsava.
Okay.
The traditional way of celebrating Krishna's appearance is to fast completely, not have a feast at midnight. But, however, Prabhupada understood that we have to preach Krishna consciousness, so if we fasted completely and didn't have a feast at midnight, probably all the devotees would leave the Krishna consciousness movement. So, and then if we fasted the next day till midday, then I don't think the devotees could tolerate it. So Prabhupada adjusted things from the standard. But the actual standard is the feast for Lord Krishna is the next day. Because
On the
Krishna appeared at
Nand
Nandotsava.
Utsav day. Okay.
Nanda Utsava, that means Nanda's festival, is actually the next day. So that's the tradition. It's not that in Vrindavan, when Krishna was born, that everybody just had a feast like at midnight. I mean, that would be. I mean, just like in this world, let's say, you're married and if your wife had a child, I don't think
Uh-huh.
you'd have the feast the same day, you know.
No, nothing.
It
Nothing
would be,
in the
it'd be
next day.
extremely appropriate, you know, you're
Yeah.
inappropriate. You're in the hospital or something like that and you have a feast, usually have the next day. So that's the standard. And actually, the standard on practically the traditional standard on practically every Vishnu Tattva appearance day is the same. That the feast is always the next day. Also in Gaur Purnima, it's exactly the same thing. That's a tradition. That the feast would be the next day, rather than the day of Gaur Purnima. However, Prabhupada understood, and we also understand, that if you don't have a feast on Janmashtami or on the day that Krishna appeared, or where he appeared at midnight, then people are not going to come the next day because they're going to be too wiped out to come the next day. Just like we experience when we keep everybody up till 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the middle of the night, and they're eating the feast. And then we try to have Prabhupada's appearance day the next day, and
Nobody.
people start to wander in at about 11 o'clock in the morning, and you know, some people just show up at 1 o'clock,
Feast.
and they're and they're just like completely zonked out, to use a common expression. So we're not doing it the traditional way. Traditional way is the next day you actually have the celebration and the feast. So, but that's an adjustment for preaching, which is fine. Also, Prabhupada, this is another interesting thing. Prabhupada, when I was with him, he made the devotees cook grain feasts on Janmashtami. Although you read all these traditions, you're supposed to eat the Kadasi, you know, Kadasi break fast at midnight. But when I was with Prabhupada, the devotees had prepared an Ekadasi breakfast, and Prabhupada got very upset, and Prabhupada said that he wanted a full feast at midnight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
in the
anyway, what's that?
in the beginning, when I joined initially ISKCON, we had the feast. There was no Ekadasi feast. Everything was grains. On midnight, we used to break the fast. Everyone needs to take grains. There was no Ekadasi, but later on, after maybe after just 20 years ago, they started having Ekadasi feast.
Well, basically, because we're a preaching movement, you should have a grain feast because people are coming from the outside. This is their first time coming to the Hare Krishna temple. They're not going to come the next day. And if you serve them a Ekadasi feast, it's not the best thing for preaching. So Prabhupada was very much focused on preaching, as was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He wasn't focused on these little, ritual adjustment things. I'm just really being honest with you. We tend as time goes on, we tend to employ all these little details that in many cases are actually counterproductive for carrying out the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because it's a fact that many people will come, the only time of the year they come is on Janmashtami.
Yes.
And if we just offer them some quinoa,
They will not come back again.
they're not going to come again.
Yeah.
I was listening to a class that Prabhupada was giving in Hyderabad, and Prabhupada commented about the prasadam in Hyderabad because Prabhupada said, well, it was really heavy. Prabhupada said this food he wouldn't even give to a dog. He said you should make such nice food. And Prabhupada said he would personally pay for the devotees to have nice food so that people would want to join. So the whole point of our movement is the Sankirtan movement. And so Prabhupada always made adjustments for the preaching of Krishna consciousness. I know, of course, for ourselves. For myself, I'm not making an excuse for myself to eat grains on Janmashtami because I don't even eat grains on a normal day. So you can say, oh, he's just making an excuse because he can't control his tongue. Well, the point is, what I had today, I didn't eat any grains today. So don't accuse me of being into sense gratification. At least that type of sense gratification. You understand? Because it's, I just see, even though I'm a vegan and everything like that, if I could make people devotees, I would feed people food cooked with ghee if it would make people devotees. Ahimsa ghee, of course.
Yeah,
You know.
Gurudev,
I
I
mean,
still
people come
remember.
to the temple. I'm not gonna give them buckwheat kasha like I have every night, and boiled vegetables. So anyway, we have to think of what's best for preaching. What's best for preaching is that if we have guests coming for our Janmashtami, there should be a fantastic feast at midnight, so that people just like never forget their experience. Because most people in this world are centered on their tongues,
True.
isn't it?
Yes.
Prabhupada said it's kitchen religion. Most people will do whatever their tongues tell them to do. But we want people to join. And if it means cooking grains, whatever on
Janmashtami.
Janmashtami, yeah, we'll do it. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur fed grains to some of his disciples who were feeling weak on the Ekadashi. I'm not saying we should do that. There's no need of that because Ekadashi is not a big like public festival day. But I would say in any of these public festival days, not only should we have a big feast at midnight, but we should have opulent prasadam throughout the day. Not just at midnight, but throughout the day. Anyone comes. Prabhupada got angry when someone said to one of the guests, "Oh, the offering will be ready in an hour." Prabhupada got angry with that. Because Prabhupada wanted, and Prabhupada even sometimes had his guests given unoffered food just so they could have some prasadam, some food. Because exchanging food is a sign of love. And so, I mean, ourselves, we can be very austere, but we don't want to impose our concept or even ritualistic concept of austerity on others. It's actually extremely cruel. I mean, I remember when I joined the movement, Ekadashi used to be a bigger feast than on regular days. And so we would look forward to Ekadashi. And now, you have people like taught that you're supposed to stay up all night on Ekadashi, and you can do it and not eat and not drink. Prabhupada never did that. Prabhupada ate every Ekadashi, he drank every Ekadashi, but it wasn't grains, of course. So the whole point is utility is the principle, books are the basis, purity is the force, right? So remember that. So, I mean, I would say in Janmashtami, there people should gorge themselves. I mean, our guests, not you. Should gorge themselves and be happy. People should look forward. People come to the temple, oh, we're going to eat nicely. Prabhupada said if they don't do that at the temple, people are going to go to the restaurants and eat opulent food there. Okay.
Thank you,
So,
Gurudev.
I got that off my chest. So any other questions or comments?
I have Gurudev.
Yeah. Yes, Radha Sundari.
Accept my humble obeisance, Gurudev, or glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, glory to God.
I want to ask you, Gurudev, about law of karma.
Yeah.
If one is not Krishna conscious, they don't go to Krishna. But when we are initiated, as like I've been listening you saying that we go to Krishna,
Yeah.
right? But what if you are an initiated Brahmin, right? And you are very cruel towards a Vaishnav. You do everything for your guru, you do everything for Krishna, but you are not kind to Vaishnavas. In my opinion, I think those type of people don't go to Krishna because they are hurting Vaishnavas, and especially if it's a lady. In Sri Sri Radha Gopinath temple, it's been happening, and it's not
All
very
right.
nice. So
All right, we
please,
don't want to get
Gurudev,
into.
give me.
All right,
No,
that's
I
between.
just want to. No,
Yeah, but that's
I just want
between
to
them
know.
and Krishna. Yeah. Let me just say that if someone is treating everything, the Guru nicely and Krishna nicely, but they're not nice to the Vaishnavas, that's third class devotee, and then they don't go to Krishna. But we should be compassionate to them.
Yeah, but I just want to know, like, like law of karma, doesn't the law of karma gets to them?
No, Krishna personally will punish them.
Okay.
Krishna, as it says in the Bible, is an interesting quote. He says, "Judgment is mine, saith the Lord." It's not for us to punish anybody like that. Unless you're the guru. Guru can punish disciples. I love to do it. So anyway,
What if they don't have a guru? Their guru is departed.
then just ask me, I'll punish them. So anyway,
Okay.
anyway, it's up to Krishna. It's up to Krishna. I mean, that's between them and Krishna, but we should feel very compassionate. The test of our devotion is that we're tolerant when other people act improperly, according to our judgment. Other people act improperly. We don't act improperly in response. As they say, two wrongs don't make a right. You understand? Someone else may be wrong, but that's Krishna's test for us to actually be tolerant and determined. I remember in Fiji, because Fiji is so many politics. I always give example in Fiji. So that one time a devotee had some disagreement with the management somewhere in Fiji, whatever. And they said, I'm not coming to the temple. And I said, well, I'm in the temple. I'm doing a program. It's a disciple. I said, I'm doing a program in the temple. Can you come and see me? And they said, no, because so-and-so is in charge of the temple. And I said, well, what does so-and-so have to do? Krishna's there on the altar, right? And so-and-so is in charge of the temple, and I'm supposed to be your guru, and I'm here, and I'm personally inviting you. And they say, no, I'm not coming because so-and-so. I mean, this is, we have to think logically. I know we have emotions. Not only I know we have emotions, I see them every day. I mean, anyway, we have emotions, but we have to think logically, too. We can't cut off our nose to spite our face, as the saying goes. And then I told that devotee, I said, look, if Prabhupada was coming to this particular temple, and I'm not going to say what temple it is, it's in somewhere in Fiji, obviously. I said, if Prabhupada was coming to this temple, even if Ravana was running the temple, I would go to see Prabhupada. And here I am, your guru, and you're not coming to see me. This happened in Lambasa, so it doesn't refer to anybody in Australia or in Suva. So none of you will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I said, if Prabhupada came somewhere, I go swim across the ocean to see Prabhupada. Even if there was a shark in the ocean, I punched the shark in the mouth, just to go see Prabhupada. I mean, what to speak of, that. So we have to see. Krishna gives us these tests where these people, they may not be acting properly. That's true. But the question is, what can we control? We can control our response or how we act. That's the difference. We have that much. I can't control anyone except for myself.
So what should one do? Gurudev, if they are if they are doing service for Krishna, and then they are taken out of the service, and that they have been doing this service, for very long time.
One has no other recourse. In this kind, you can go to the GBC. If that doesn't work, you can go to Krishna. You go to Krishna. I mean, I'll give you a funny example here. that we just did some construction. Oh my God, I don't know if I should use this example. We just finished some construction. We built some new bathrooms here in New Goloka. You know, really nice. And one of the ladies here didn't like the floor that we put on in the bathroom because it's a non-slip floor, and it has little particles in it so you don't slip on it. So she didn't like it at all. I won't mention who it is. And so she got really angry at me. And she said, I'm going to complain to the deities. I'm going to Radhika Lokananda to complain to them about your putting a non-slip floor on the bathroom that hurt my little footsies. Anyway, oh my God, I hope no one's listening. Oh yes, I think someone's listening who will know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so, and I just went, oh my God. You know,
So Goloka
imagine
Brahman's gonna.
people going to the deities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to complain about me about the bathroom floor. Now I've seen everything. Actually, I have seen everything. You know, the last 2 days, I've seen a lot of things. I'm not going to mention what Shruti did the other day. But anyway, it's just, I think I've seen everything in Krishna consciousness. I mean, you can't imagine what I have to deal with. Just today, I mean, now to complain, this is my therapy session. Today I had to order a special toilet for a devotee and unload the toilet from the truck.
Jai Gurudev.
And I had to spend my own money for this special, super expensive toilet. So, I mean, what I have to put up with, but I did it. Gladly, I was smiling as I unloaded the toilet. Anyway, so sometimes we have to tolerate things and just go
True.
on in life. You know, it's just, I can't control everything. I mean, I can't control it. I can't even control my own digestion. You know, just as we were talking, I just got bitten by a mosquito. Can't even control the mosquitoes in my house. What to speak of the disciples. So the point is, we see Krishna everywhere. We see Krishna in everything, and we understand what is or how does Krishna want us to react or act in such a circumstance. So it's up to us. Whatever is going to happen to them, that's between them and Krishna. I'm not their authority. But Krishna will rectify the situation. Let's say if you were unfairly taken off the deity roster, which is what you're talking about. And then Krishna will make an adjustment. And we'll go to Krishna. Krishna, I really miss you. Krishna will make some adjustment. But never pray for anything bad to happen to someone. We shouldn't say, Krishna, smash this guy. There was only one time that I broke my Brahmin thread to curse someone. To join the movement. It was in Venezuela, because there was this one guy in the government who was trying to stop our movement. So I broke my thread, and guess what? Nothing happened. So it's up to Krishna. It's up to Krishna. I'm just depending on Krishna. And but the whole point is that we have the ability to choose to be Vaishnavas ourselves. Even if we're put in a very difficult situation and persecuted for the wrong reason or blamed for the wrong reason, that happens. I mean, I've been blamed for things that I never did. But I don't take, you know, what do? I don't try to defend myself. I just say, you know, Hare Krishna, like that, and go on. Anyway, sorry for that answer. So, yeah, just pray to Krishna, pray to Gopinath.
Yes, we are praying to Gopinath, Gurudev. And we know Gopinath has done a lot of mysterious things. He has taken people out. He's taken people in. We know that.
Yeah, he has a special, he's arranging things, and who knows what he's going to arrange in the future. But
Yeah.
I do know that if someone is not dealing with the Vaishnavas properly, they don't go back to Godhead, and Krishna will not allow them to stay in that position if they don't deal with the Vaishnavas properly. I know that.
That's what I think too.
So just hold on, and you deal properly with the Vaishnavas. Okay,
I
one more
don't. I
question.
try not to offend Vaishnavas.
Yeah, just serve the Vaishnavas. I mean, I would
Hmm.
say this is a test. You have to serve your enemies. That's a real
Yeah,
test.
we were taught from the childhood. If your enemy comes to your door, you still give them water.
Still give them water, yeah.
Yeah.
Still give them water, and now a face mask. All right. I think just one, like Gopal. Oh, let Radhapadma ask a question. All right.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. My
Haribol.
question is from text 20. In the purport, the last line of the purport says, all whom the Lord endowed with divine vision saw that universal form. So who all could see the universal form apart from Arjuna?
Well, it describes it the demigods and even the yakshas and others. If you read the verses that we just read, there were some higher entities that were given that vision by the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
But no one in the battlefield there?
It's interesting because Prabhupada said in the previous verses, Prabhupada said only Arjuna could see.
Yes.
And now he's referring to people in the higher planets. So my understanding after reading Prabhupada's explanation and the subsequent verses that came afterwards, that people in the higher planets and the yakshas and other, Gandharvas could see it. But on the battlefield, Krishna was the only one, at least according to Prabhupada's description.
And how about Sanjaya? Was he able to see as well?
Sanjaya was able to see it, yes. But he wasn't on the battlefield.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Yes,
Gurudev, what about Barbari?
Who?
Barbari?
Barbari. Who's that?
You know how the demon, when Krishna cut his head and he wanted to see the fight in the Kurukshetra?
I remember vaguely that story in one of the Puranas.
Yeah.
It's not in the Mahabharata. So I can't attest to the authenticity of that story.
Okay.
It's not in the Mahabharata. It's in one of the, vaguely I remember that's something about that story in one of the Puranas. But I don't know if it's bona fide or not. I can't say. Okay, I think we have to end. Oh yeah, so just let me make an announcement. Tomorrow here is Janmashtami. And I'm not going to be giving the Gita class tomorrow at this same time, nor the next day, which is Prabhupada's appearance day. But I'll be giving the morning class tomorrow morning, which is also tomorrow evening, if you're in Australia and New Zealand, at 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., which in Australia is 8:30 to 9:30. And which is 10:30 to 11:30 in the evening in New Zealand and Fiji. So we'll be giving that class, but that class will be available on Facebook and also on YouTube later on if you want to see it. So, and then on Thursday from here, I'm traveling, so hopefully I'll be giving that class on Thursday evening, which is Friday morning. In Australia, New Zealand, etc., like that. So I'm traveling, not by plane, don't worry. I'm driving somewhere. So not going to go in a plane for a while. Okay, I guess that's it. Nice to see everybody in Fiji. Mahamantra is there, enjoying the sun and the fun there. It's fun in Fiji. Fiji is the best place in the world. Actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that prasadam is the tastiest in the world, and that politics are also the tastiest in the world in Fiji.
That's why the politics here as well.
Hare
Did
Krishna
you-
Maharaj.
Haribol.
Please accept my obeisances. It's Chitralekha. Just a question. So tomorrow, apart from the class, the program will be also here in Zoom or in Facebook or.
Well, yeah, I'm only giving one class tomorrow, which is in the morning. On Zoom, I'm turning over my Zoom page for devotees to read Krishna book all day long. So I'm not going to really be doing anything on Zoom. But on Facebook, on my Facebook page, we're going to be, after my class in the morning, class will be on Zoom and Facebook. But my Facebook page will be used for various programs throughout the day. There's a dance performance of the Lita Madhava at 1 o'clock, our time, US time. You can all figure at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And there'll also be another dance performance at 7:15 in the evening, US time, which will be a good time for New Zealand, Australia, and Fiji. And then, of course, the midnight RT. So all these things will be broadcast too. The dances, the cultural programs, and the midnight RT will be broadcast for everyone to see. So that'll be
Okay,
tomorrow's
thank
program.
you.
And of course, the on Vyasa Puja Day, we'll have the program on Zoom and on Facebook too, and that'll be starting at about 11 o'clock in the morning, U.S. East Coast time, and you can figure out from there. 11 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time, and it's going to be too late in Australia and New Zealand for all of you to participate at that time. But all that's going to be recorded on Facebook and also, yeah, Facebook and also on my YouTube channel. YouTube channel is Veer Krishna Goswami. You can sign up to get notices for my YouTube channel. Almost all the things we're doing, including this Gita class, are posted regularly on my YouTube channel. Okay, so I guess that's it. We'll see everybody tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, depending on where you are. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Gurudev ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki